Blog Talk Radio.
Hello again, Hempster. Welcome to another hemp episode of HempAware Radio. Tyler Hemp here, your hempreneurial host, here to hempower and hempucate your hemposphere because it's hemportant. Here we go again with another brief yet powerful hempucational show for you. I believe that investing in your education and investing in hemp are two essential actions you can take for yourself, the economy, and the planet that will make a long-term beneficial impact. And today we have a very special guest, Dylan Veilleux. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong, he'll correct me, who is the founder of a new hemp company called Tree Free Heat of the great state of Maine. He just graduated from Thomas College and is in an up-and-coming, amazing brand. He's an hemprepreneur like us, making every one of these awesome hemp fire starters that they offer by hand. He makes them himself, and you've got to get a few. They're amazing stocking stuffers. We're going to go into the details of this hemp-based fire starter product. And so to give you a little insight on his hemp company growth and to introduce you to the company, the product, and the man Dylan, welcome to the show. So glad you could be here. Sorry if I butchered your last name.
hello,
Veilleux?
everybody. And that's okay. It's pronounced Veilleux, but you are
Veilleux.
one of a million people that have struggled with it. It's all right. The name
It
doesn't
seems
really
very French.
Yeah, very French. There shouldn't be two L's and an X in the name. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's okay. That's okay.
Totally. Well, tell us a little bit about your background before we get into the details on hemp. Where do you come from? What's your background like, and what led you up to creating a hemp company and a hemp product?
Yeah. So, like you said, I graduated from Thomas, but I went back to achieve my master's. So I'm currently going to do my master's at Thomas College, and I should be done that through their accelerated program sometime around June. But before I started all of this journey, I was kind of making a lot of other small businesses when I was younger. So I guess where the journey really started was when I was 15 years old. My mom was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And as you can imagine, for a 15-year-old, that's like quite a life-changing event. And it's funny because, when you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they all kind of have these catalysts, and there's always this one moment in which they realize they're going to need to make a really large change. And I vividly remember that moment. It was ironically the same moment in which she told me that she had stage 3 breast cancer. And we were driving away from my last baseball practice. And I was like, wow, I need to become independent. I need to make massive changes in my life. I can't do the sports that I was always doing. And I had to really focus on, the future, because it became very uncertain for us. And so that was like that was the opening of me trying to become financially independent and creating businesses. So that was the start of the entrepreneurial journey. But then the start of the Tree Free Heat journey happened when I went to college for the first year. I started to learn about Henry Ford, and it was really exciting to learn about such an incredible entrepreneur in himself. And the thing that I learned that really caught my eye was that he had a decision point in which he could use hemp ethanol or gasoline. And so naturally, his vision was to get cars to as many people as possible. So he chose gasoline because it was a cheaper, more available product. And, that moment really left me wondering as to, why can't we do that again? Why can't we revitalize that idea, bring that idea to life, and just see it through? And so, from a high level, that's really how we started. The fire started just the first iteration.
That was the spark of the beginning. That's really cool. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're all on the hero's journey, and we have our dark night of the soul where we experience the challenges and the pains and the struggles of life that give birth to the new ideas and inspire us to make changes for the better. And so that's such a cool story, and I really appreciate your tenacity and focus to bring such a cool product What is it specifically? So you learned about Henry Ford. You saw that hemp was this alternative resource for a fuel, and then eventually you thought, well, I'm going to create a product with hemp. And what was it specifically about hemp that you learned that really inspired you to do something with it?
Mm-hmm. Well, it recently was on the news at the same time because Maine kind of was really starting to build momentum in the hemp industry approximately around 2016, 2017. And of course, I just knew of all of the cool things that hemp can do, and, it just wasn't on the market or available. But my original idea was to walk in the same footsteps of Henry Ford and, create my own hemp ethanol. That was a ridiculous idea, absolutely absurd, because I'm one person that's completely broke. So to go from, 0 to $1 million, that just wasn't going to happen. So instead of doing that, I just studied. I studied everything I could about hemp for 2 whole years, just waiting for a moment until the market matured in Maine and I could actually find a person that could help me elevate my ideas and bring me to that point, a mentor specifically. And by my junior year of college, I found that person. His name's Nick Rimza, and he's a mentor by trade. And I said, this is what I want to do. And he's kind of been the person that just puts me on those small steps to get to the big idea. And so I'm the visionary person. He's the, I guess I wouldn't say ordinary, but the more realistic person. And together we're able to create hemp renewable energy products. Regardless if it's just a fire starter, they're the beginning product to get us to where we want to go to, which, could be hemp bio bricks, could be hemp pellets, could be hemp ethanol. It could be anything it could be anything. It's just whatever ends up happening, to be honest.
Yeah, whatever the market needs, the biggest needs out there, hemp can fulfill, whether it's food, shelter, clothing, fuel, plastics. I mean, you're absolutely right. So many directions to go.
Exactly.
But since you've brought a product to the market, it's treefreeheat.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so if people go there and start using your products, that would be amazing. Please go check out Dylan's fire starter. It's a great stocking stuffer, good, just overall product to have in your camping gear. So tell us, from the entrepreneurial perspective, what have been some of the good things and not so good things about working with hemp as a raw material for your product? Yeah.
I'll start with the not so good things because they're kind of funny and kind of it's really funny, most of the time. The not so fun things is this is a really hard market to navigate. People really struggle because you don't really get as much government help as you'd like. You don't just really get all that much general help as that you like, and it's the wild, wild west. So a lot of people are trying to figure things out. So that makes sometimes relationships really difficult because farmers will be in it and then they just financially can't anymore and have to try and make new relationships with farmers. And then along those lines, there's all these learning curves that I'm dealing with trying to process the hemp. We started with no machinery whatsoever, and I was processing these hemp stalks by hand. Eventually, I got really fed up with doing that. And I bought this $100 electric wood chipper. And I would put the stalks through the electric wood chipper, and I could maybe put in, 30 stalks until I had to completely clean the entire chipper. Because if I didn't, it smelled like a fire was about to erupt. The long bast fibers would just get all caught up in the gears. And so I'd have to completely clean it. And that would take me a whole day to process as much hemp as possible. So, in the hindsight, those things are kind of entertaining to me because I really like those hurdles and the randomness of what happens. One day I'll be going to Home Depot to buy some PVC pipe cutters, and then I'll go to Staples and buy these really expensive titanium blade scissors, whatever it takes. is like a really fun journey for me. So I kind of enjoy that kind of stuff, even though it can be really irritating.
Totally.
But the good part of it is that it's the Wild West. It's so exciting. People are so fun to like talk to about this stuff, and what they're learning is like the cutting edge, and I'm learning it right along with them, and we teach each other, and it's super like, it's a community, you know? And it's really fun to be a part of this community in Maine because people are just so nice and they're so helpful. And yeah, I love all of it. It's a great time.
That's awesome. Right on. That's cool. So the struggles is that there may not be a consistency. It's a brand new industry. The materials themselves, you're getting used to the machinery, the equipment that you're using. So just that learning process is the challenge or the struggle. But that in it's kind of the fuel, so to speak, that brings clarity for how to make a better product or be more efficient with your process. And you've kind of started to go into that process that you went through as far as creating the fire starter. But tell us a little more specifically, what are the logistics? Describe the product to us. What does it look like? How do you use it? What can people expect when they purchase it? How does it work? And how do you use it?
Yeah. So the packaging is really, really cute. My partner is a designer, and he helped a lot with making them. So if I was to describe it, the box in particular, it's a soap box, essentially. So that's about the size of it. And it has a little panel so that you can see inside of it to see the fire starters. Each package comes with 2 fire starters, and each fire starter has just hemp that's gone through the chipper, soy wax, and then a wick that's dipped in citronella, which kind of can help with mosquitoes, but most importantly is a natural way of just getting the fire to start faster. And that right there, that retails for $5. And we mostly focus on wholesale, but we've really been finding that retail is a really great option as we've been evolving the ways that we communicate to our customers. We mainly focused on wholesale because, I feel like that's just a very common way when you're starting off with a new product. Once you learn about what the problems could be with the product, you kind of just go to wholesale because it's a lot less effort to sell a lot more. But with the increased success of our social media, people have really just been reaching out, and I've really been enjoying talking to just random people telling us stories about how they use their product. I would say the most enjoyable story I received was about this couple who has a 7-year-old girl. They went camping, and they had their daughter try out the fire starter. She lit the wick, put it in the middle, and slowly fed the fire. And it was among the first times that she's ever made a fire before, because her parents can be kind of protective, of course, naturally. And so, I thought that was a really interesting story to hear. And if it's easy enough for a 7-year-old, I think most people will be able to use it. And most importantly, they burn for approximately 20 minutes.
Wow, how cool! So it's like a makeshift candle in a little cube shape with a wick, and it's just a way to get your campfire or your bonfire going. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So treefreeheat.com is where you can pick them up. Like we were saying, it's a great stocking stuffer. Good to just have in your camping gear overall. The fact that you're using hemp is just contributing to the transformation that we're wanting to see on the planet.
Absolutely.
So kind of shifting gears, what do you feel are some of the untapped industries in terms of hemp materials or in your area of interest? You kind of stumbled across Henry Ford. He not only learned how to fuel hemp cars or cars with hemp fuel, but he also discovered hemp bioplastics. Is that the direction you guys plan on going with your brand or your company, or do you kind of want to focus more on the same stream of outdoorsy camping gear, camping type products, or what direction do you feel is kind of an untapped industry with hemp, or where do you guys plan on going from here?
So I would say New England is like really early to the party. Really late to the party right now. So we have a lot of stuff to figure out. We recently purchased a decorticator. It's a much smaller decorticator than the ones that are on the market in America already. It's called the Herdmaster. It can do, I think, approximately 1 ton to 2 tons a day, as opposed to most decorticators that are doing a ton, an hour. But I think this is like the next step for the hemp industry. Before we can even take the steps to, working on hempcrete or working on hemp bioplastics or hemp rope or whatever it will be, we really need to focus on being able to separate it at all. So we really hope that can be, ironically, a fire starter to the industry by having a decorticator that is local enough so that we can, take these baby steps to just scaling the whole processing aspect of, entirely. That is definitely the most important part before we can really think about doing the, after processing. After processing, product creation. But to touch base with Maine, the thing that we've to do with the product that's not the herd, with the bast fiber, the product we want to do the most is create fishing line or just any sort of nautical product. It's just so perfect for Maine, and we would really love to connect aquaculture and hemp culture together to create the most Maine product I could ever think of, to be honest. And I think that would be a really fantastic opportunity. But as far as like making other products, we do have a few others, but they're just like prototypes right now that we're working to scale, and that would just be hemp fat wood and then eventually hemp Duraflame brick logs. We have the prototypes for both, but it's too difficult for us to scale with our current resources right now.
Yeah, and going back to your first point of having a sort of mini or mobile decorticator, it seems like that's, like you were saying, the future, where there are these huge industrial machines that can pump out, dozens of tons of herd and bast fiber a day. But for small projects or, startup companies that are wanting to do small scale production, it seems like it would be a lot easier to take that decorticator around to different farms and process on site so that you decrease the cost of shipping. As far as hemp stalks themselves, they're so bulky and so lightweight that it becomes cost prohibitive to be shipping stalks from one state to the next or one county to the next, frankly. So to be able to mobile decorticate and go around, that seems like a good business model, at least as a startup company, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked to so many farmers. Normally they just burn all of their stalks, or they just compost them, or just straight up throw them away into a landfill. So they would just love to see something happen with their waste product. They really don't care what. Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, there's other parts of the plant that could be used in the long term. We've got the bast fiber, which is a higher end fiber that's used more for woven applications like rope and twine and fabric and such. And then the herd, which there's dozens of uses for that as far as hempcrete and these wood products, paper products. So do you think that like a Duraflame product or other wood type products could be used from like the hulls of hemp seeds, or maybe the roots or some other aspect or part of the plant that's not being used yet?
So the hemp root is something we're very interested in trying to finagle into a different product. But that's a really tough cookie to crack for us, because throwing that into a wood chipper it just makes the most terrifying sound you could imagine. It sounds like the worst thunderstorm you could ever hear. So we need to find a way to process the roots as well. We've seen people do handcrafted little projects with the roots. But when you start to scale up your farms, that's just not going to work if you want to do a full utilization of all the roots. So fortunately, we do have a lot of the things in the hopper. That's something that we're just going to continue to slowly make progress on until eventually we can find some way to utilize it.
Absolutely. Well, incidentally, the title of this show is Hemp Was Once Used for Dynamite. Now it's for fire starters. I don't know if you ever read about that, but there was an issue in Popular Mechanic magazine back in, I think it was 1931, and they discussed using hemp stalks for dynamite. I don't know if it ever went into production or if that was a legitimate use case, but I do remember reading about that, and if you just look it up online, you'll be able to find hemp being used for dynamite. So I thought it was pretty appropriate, going from a very explosive product to a little tiny fire starter, just that scale of potential. So that's really fun.
God. I love that. That's so funny. And it really creates the perfect picture of the hemp market throughout the United States. I mean, it was booming in the early 1900s and then comes to a complete halt. And now we're back in 2020. And it's obviously much more than just a fire starter. But it's similar to that as paints a perfect picture. I love it. That's intense. Absolutely.
So our intention with this show is to really help hemp entrepreneurs and hemp companies to be more efficient, to find the ideal customers for their brand, for their product. We're on a mission to empower the hemposphere, and we feel like hemp is that vehicle to transform our economy, our ecology, our consciousness ultimately. And that's why our brand is called Hemp Aware, because there's the hemp as the raw, physical, tangible solution to our problems. But the second aspect is awareness. And as a company, as a brand, as a product, you want to raise awareness about the product itself, but also the amazing, phenomenal features and benefits that hemp products have to offer. And so on that, in that spirit, what advice do you have for other hemp entrepreneurs or hemp business owners that might be struggling bringing their product to the market? Can you give them some, ideas or just some inspiration or what would you share with other hemp entrepreneurs out there that are on a similar journey?
Yeah. So it's really difficult to always paint, a blanketed advice. But for us, that's always been super helpful is to take your time, absolutely. Just take your time with creating your business, and let things happen naturally. Don't make very hasty decisions because, in the immediate time that you're making that decision, it may seem perfect. But we've had way too many problems where we try and go too fast and it just completely bites us in the butt. So for us, going slow, building everything naturally, you have plenty of time. You don't need to rush. That is the most important thing to our business now. And it helps us because then we can make much better decisions and avoid stress because this is a really stressful industry if you make it that way. You don't need to make $1 million a year. You just don't. You can do something much more manageable that allows you to still be financially independent. And I think that's just the most wise decision that you can make is just take your time and really assess, are you going to be better off if you go faster? Because for us, the answer is commonly no. It's not always no, but it's commonly no. And so, that's why we've really been okay with just having a hemp fire starter business. If I was to be this person, if I was to ask this question to myself a year ago, I would be really upset that I just have a fire starter business when my eyes were focused on a hemp ethanol business. Mm-hmm. But it's really okay to go slow and just embrace what you are right now, and then just build off of that. Progress is slow and consistent. It's not fast and immediate. So I would say of all the things I could say for good advice, that's the most important one to us.
Right on. That's really good advice. I appreciate that. And I've been in the hemp industry for over 15 years, so it's been a slow, long journey, but every moment of it has been, I wouldn't say enjoyable, because there's definitely the struggles and overcoming the stigmas and all the hurdles in this industry. But like you said, just that long, slow, steady pace is what it's all about, and being open to shift your ideas of what you think needs to happen, and being open and receptive to learn and grow along the way, and possibly, like you did, come up with a new product because you see a bigger need, or possibly a lower hanging fruit to bring a product to market that's going to change people's lives and ultimately expand into something much bigger. So I commend you for being willing to change direction and go with something that's easier to accomplish, so that you can get that win and get that confidence to go to the next step. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So just as a final closing, please, check out treefreeheat.com, get some of these fire starters and share it with your friends and family. It's a great way to spark hemp inspiration in people's lives, pun intended, of course. If there's any last comments or any last advice or thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners, I really appreciate your time, Dylan, and so glad that we got to connect, and I look forward to empowering the hemposphere together.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Tyler. And for everyone that's listening, we're doing a sale right now, 40% off our 4 packs of fire starters. We want as many people as possible to share the love for this holiday season. Check out treefreeheat.com, follow us on Instagram or Facebook, and follow the journey of what it takes to be an entrepreneur and a hemp entrepreneur. And I thank you all for listening.
Right. Thanks again, everyone. If you have any ideas for what you want to hear on this show, just email us support@hempaware.com. We'd love to hear your ideas or questions, topics that you want to learn about. Thank you so much for tuning in to Hemp Aware Radio. We really appreciate your time and focus, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.